Welcome, Donna. It's so great. Welcome, everyone, to the Women's Empowerment Series. We are live for the episode 37, I think, Women's Empowerment Series. And I'm so honored and delighted to welcome you, Donna Dumas from Rhode Island. Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me today. It
Uh,
is my great pleasure to be here with you and all of the wonderful people joining us today.
Thank you so much. Yes, I want to welcome everyone who's joined us. Let us know where you're coming from, where you're connecting from, and we are live streaming on LinkedIn, Facebook, and also YouTube. So if you are live with us, and if you have any questions, let us know. And if you are on replay, hashtag replays. If you have any comments or questions, I always love to keep this interactive, and so that we can make it as a spontaneous conversation. So how are you today, Donna?
I'm doing very, very well. We have an somewhat of an overcast day here in Providence, Rhode Island, but that is typical for this time of year. And
Really?
uh, we've been very fortunate. It's been a very, very warm winter, so I won't complain about that. But it's a lovely morning here. And I hope it's a lovely afternoon for you as well,
It
Hynd.
is. We have the little sun. We did have some rain yesterday, but we want more rain here. So that's what we would
Mm,
love to have more of. But yeah, usually our winters are mild. I mean, I'm wearing a sweater because it's cold, but it's not the freezing cold. Not on the mountains. Yeah.
nice, nice.
That's nice. So, how are you? Tell me about you. Would love for you to introduce yourself. Talk about your work. You're a lawyer. You're an educator. You're also a business owner. You're doing many, many things, and it's very impressive. And you are a beautiful role model. So,
Thank you.
let's get started from the beginning.
Well, um, I wish I could tell you it was a linear journey. It most
Never
certainly is not.
is.
It
Never
never is.
is. No.
Um, and that's the beauty of this, right?
Yes.
So I was in just academia my whole life. I loved school, and I decided to pursue law.
Okay.
So I attended law school, Roger Williams University School of Law in beautiful Bristol, Rhode Island. So we were learning all kinds of toxic torts by the seaside.
Oh,
Was
yeah.
so much better than learning toxic torts by the curbside, which was my other option. So it was either Boston or Bristol, and I chose Bristol, Rhode Island. So after attending law school, or through law school, I should say, I was a law clerk, a paralegal, the typical work that
Okay.
law
A
students
lawyer.
do.
Yeah, a lawyer
And
will start doing, yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
And it was wonderful. I worked with a solo practitioner, so I had a lot of one-on-one deep mentoring, and that really resonated with me at the time. And I think that's what I continue to resonate with even as a professional tutor.
Oh,
So once I uh, acquired my license to practice, I worked for a general practice law firm in Massachusetts. And again, it was just the three partners, I think an associate, and I was a junior associate
okay.
at the
Which
time.
is good because then you get to do everything
That's right. And
yeah.
you get to know through that contrast what areas of law you gravitate towards and which you
Mm.
don't. So you want to play to your strengths. And I found myself really attracted to the civil rights and the employment law and um, that kind of work. I also did business work too. So we worked with nonprofits and LLCs and other business entities that
Okay. Mhm.
just needed, legal advice.
Mm.
So I found myself with the clientele
Uh-huh.
actually wanting to educate them. And I would say, why don't I just write a lawyer letter for you? We'll submit it, and then there will be 3 responses, A, B, or C. If
Okay.
it's A, you can respond this way. If it's B, you can respond that way. And if it's C, you come back to me and we'll proceed.
Excellent.
So the
Uh-huh.
clients loved that because
Because
it
you
was
were teaching them actually.
right. So they
Mm.
really appreciated that I actually spoke to them as an equal.
Oh,
Um, and
nice.
from a business perspective, they liked it because it was cost effective for them. And they gave them responsibility and accountability for their
Mm,
own, frankly, circumstances. So that
mm,
was a very empowering thing to do.
mm.
From the law firm's perspective, they didn't
You
care
don't get
for that so
paid.
much
That's
until they realized it was a business generator because
of
those
course, because the
clients
repetition. Yeah.
actually told other people that I was educating them and actually cared about how they could how
Yeah.
they would handle it. So
Yeah.
I ended up with more business as an attorney when I wanted to be an educator.
Isn't that so nice? But this is very, very good because you kind of helping and your helping brought you more just by
Yes,
giving value, not
yes.
even running after the clients. I love that because
It,
that's so true. Mm.
it was a very natural way for me
Uh-huh.
to uh, attract
Yeah.
rather than impose myself or
Uh-huh.
really assert myself. I simply attracted the clients because I authentically wanted them to understand what their case really was about.
Yeah, because you
Um,
cared about them, like really
absolutely,
as a
A-
person.
absolutely.
You created that human connection. Yeah.
Th- which is one of the points that I was just going to raise as we proceed through this presentation. It's at the heart of what I do. It's
Mm.
it is not simply a business strategy.
Yeah.
It's not artificial. It's a that connection arises authentically and
Yeah.
naturally. And everyone has a way to connect. Everyone has a unique, call it a personality, but
Uh-huh.
we all have these unique ways to connect in a meaningful dialogues.
So true. So
It-
true.
it-
Mm.
So as I practiced for a few years and made some wonderful connections there, as
Mhm.
to use your words, wonderful clientele. I still had this calling to educate, and when I had my son, I found that was a really sort of a watershed moment for me
Uh-huh.
because I really needed to take that opportunity to put scaffolding in place for him so
Oh,
he
yes.
could thrive in
Yes.
academics. And
Of
I could
course.
see there were struggles there.
Mm.
So I left the law firm and it just so happened it was dissolving. The partners were going separate directions. One was becoming a judge, one wanted to open her own firm.
Mhm.
So it was a really perfect time.
Mhm.
And I had reached out to a colleague who had mentioned that Mount Ida College, which is outside of Boston at the
Okay.
time,
Mhm.
was looking for a business law professor. And I thought, well,
Perfect.
this just landed. So
Uh, Excellent.
I took that position and I fell in love with it. I
That's
really
so
fell
nice.
in love.
So you lived outside Boston, actually?
I actually was in southeastern Mass, so it was it was somewhat of a commute at the time. But
Mhm.
I had already worked in Boston in the federal courts, state courts, so it was not
That far.
anything
Mm.
troubling.
Yeah.
Um, and I was in my element. I
That's
was
so
in my
nice.
element.
Yeah.
Um, with young, eager minds and aspiring entrepreneurs and
Yeah.
many of them were first generation in their family to attend college, but they
Amazing.
came from family businesses.
Okay.
So they were wanting to grow their family's business,
Mhm.
and they really were invested in their academics.
Mm-hmm.
So I developed a curriculum because it was a new program. The business law program at the time was very new,
Okay.
and I could tell right away, because law, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
Hynd, it's a very different way of thinking. It requires critical analysis and a very specialized way of writing.
Okay.
Um, so I see that students were struggling, and
Mm.
at the time there were a good 30 to 40 students in the class. It was a large class.
It's a large class, yeah.
It is, and I wasn't able to convey what I needed to convey in that large of a setting.
Oh,
So I
wow.
decided that I
Mhm.
would run a free, completely gratis after school tutoring program for
Oh my
students
God.
that were coming to me with their struggles.
That's so nice.
It was it exploded. I at first I was um, at first I looked at it as a reflection on my teaching, that
Uh-huh.
I just wasn't a good teacher.
Wow. Yeah, that's the thing. You're like you were not good enough for them to
Right. I wasn't a good teacher. That's why they didn't
but that's not true.
understand.
That's
That's
not it.
not the case.
Of course not.
So at the time I said, well, if I'm not a good teacher, I will be a good teacher. Let's do this tutoring.
And that's
So
why you give it for free
I
because
did.
you wanted to do an
I,
additional.
I did. I did
Mm.
because when you see an opportunity, take it. No
Yes.
ill will come of it.
I
Take the
love that.
opportunity.
Well said. So when you see an opportunity, take it. I love
Take
that.
it. Take it.
Absolutely. Mm.
Because the
You don't know what's gonna unfold.
you exactly. It
It's just
really is an exercise in faith.
it is. Oh,
Um, and to be honest, there were only a few students coming to me at that time with their struggles. So I didn't
okay.
expect the turnout, which was incredible. So
The whole
when
class. Was
it
it the
it
whole class?
it was a good, it could have been a separate business enterprise then.
Oh. If it wasn't for free.
If it wasn't
Oh.
for, so it
Ah.
and many times it was very that's when I realized that although the students were having the same academic issue,
Uh-huh.
for instance, how to organize a legal memo,
Yeah.
how to organize it. There's a very specific way to do that.
Okay.
They each had very unique learning styles. So that's how the tailored tutoring came to be
Mm.
initially, was through that
Oh.
laboratory, so to speak, at Mount
It
Ida
is a
College.
laboratory because it
It
is
is.
because then when you have them, then you see what's lacking and
It's
how you can do it. Yeah.
yes, and then you can target. You
Okay.
can focus so highly that you have that moment where the spark lights up in their eyes, and
Mm.
you know they've grasped it. You know that they've grasped the concept. And that was what was really thrilling for me
It's good.
as a professor,
Mm.
that when we returned to the classroom, it was a very different environment,
Mm.
because that connection I was able to foster through the one-on-one and very
Mm.
small groups. And when I say small groups, no more than 3, no more
Well,
than
yeah, because otherwise it's just going back to the 30. Ah, but I'm sure
exactly
you were
right.
recognized by the school. They probably recognized you for that.
What they did, but at the time there was no funding. There was no funding for in-house tutoring.
Mm.
Now, when you go to, if you're in academia or you are a faculty member, there are in-house tutoring
Mm. And they have,
departments.
isn't it? Don't they have like a teaching assistant? Like when they want more, they add that. I remember I was doing that for my professors when I was at Harvard. I was like a teaching assistant where I will go with some of the students and work on the exercises. And
Yes.
uh,
And they have that as well. But
yeah.
at the time, that
Mhm.
business law program was so new, and there wasn't, uh, Zoom. There wasn't
Yeah, no, not so in
StreamYard.
the 90s. When was that? When was it? In the 2000? Was it 2000?
Uh,
When did you do that?
about yeah, maybe 2000. No, it was more. No, more than that.
Was
Mid. I will say the mid 2000s. So the technology was a podcast, maybe
Oh,
if you
yeah.
were lucky.
Yeah, that's right. That's incredible
So
how the digital have changed.
I
Incredible.
know but
Mm,
again, it's just a tool. It's
yes.
just a tool. It does not replace learning. It does
Never.
not. Um,
Never.
I,
Mm.
I I have had students over the years with the most amazing technology available to them,
Yeah?
and their learning is they're struggling. They're really struggling. So I don't want us to, or for me, I should say, in my experience, I technology is not a substitute for the actual learning, and
Yeah.
that's the goal. That's the
Mhm.
goal.
Okay.
I don't care if it's pen and paper or
Okay. Yeah. So to
or
you, the in person, it will never be replaced with the technology.
never,
Never.
never,
You
never.
could use the technology as a tool, but the in person, the existence of a person behind the screen is just important.
Yes, and there are some uh, subject matters that can't you can't bridge the digital divide. Um,
Mm.
Science classes that require laboratories that
Yeah.
actually require hands-on
Mhm.
experience. It's extraordinarily difficult
Mm.
to teach that virtually. So there were some subjects, as I say, that simply have to be in person, and that is what I prefer.
Okay.
That and the pandemic really shifted that.
Of
Uh,
course, yes, it did, yes. And in fact, some universities now are going to the alternate, using both possibilities, being online or being, being in person, which is a
yeah,
new thing. This was not the case before. I'm looking at the summer school for my son, and I'm like, some of them they offer them online. I'm like, what's the point of online? We
I
want
know.
them out.
I that
Which is
right. It's because we want multi-sensory approaches
mm,
to learning. Because as I've stated earlier, each learner has a unique style, a
yes,
unique way of absorbing and metabolizing that material.
yes,
So
yes.
the I don't want to certainly demonize virtual learning. I know students that thrived because they're just self-directed, but I
Uh,
know so many students that really were challenged.
Really didn't work for them, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't want to demonize it, but I don't want to deify it either. Um,
Mm,
it's again, it's another tool. It's another tool we can use,
mm.
and I'm grateful to have it, frankly.
Yeah,
But
but
still, it doesn't change. It does not change my customized, tailored approach to tutoring. It is one-on-one and very small group, and that is a non-negotiable for me.
mhm,
It's
okay.
something I do not. I've had people ask, "Well, would you just I've got a group of at the time I think it was law students, no
Okay,
pre-law students, pardon me,
okay.
and they wanted a group instructor for or tutor for the law school admission test,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
and I have done test prep in the past. I no longer do it. There
Okay.
are plenty of tutoring services out there that do
Do that,
cater to
yeah.
that.
Is
Uh,
that the LS, what is it called? The
the
LS?
LSAT.
The LSAT,
Yes, the
yes.
LSAT.
Yeah.
So, and again, that's a very the way to prepare for that. I would call that rather boilerplate.
Mm,
It's there's you don't have to cater to learning styles
mm.
to do test prep. The test is what it is.
Okay.
So
You
um,
have to do the tests and repeat them and do them.
that
And
that's
yeah.
right.
So if we were to look at it from a gender angle, I mean, how are women doing in terms of the law? Is it like when you were studying for law, is
Yes.
it the same? Is it different? Is it more? What are the trends and how do you see it?
This is what my colleagues and I have talked about, because the more things change, the more they stay the same, so to speak.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
while you see more women in the law, actually,
Mhm.
it's pretty evenly divided.
Okay.
What you're seeing are the same issues that women in professional positions, in corporate positions, face. And that is, there is the lack of understanding and support for the needs that are really exclusive to women, or biologically, physiological women, such
It's
as pregnancy, such
pregnancy.
as birth,
Mm.
such as
Maternity leave.
maternity leave, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're still seeing the same sticking points.
Okay. Okay. Mhm.
When I was pregnant with my son,
Yeah.
and I remember very distinctly having a conversation with one of the partners, and I said, I really would like to have my hours. I'd like to change when I'm in the office, not the
Okay.
amount of the hours,
Just
but
when. Yeah.
exactly the scheduling.
And
And
then
you would have thought I was demanding something
really?
re- un, unusual, but
Wow.
that was the thinking of the day, and it was a male dominated firm.
Right. Right.
So
Mm.
there's a certain there's a certain level of um, agreement I could have there, because they don't know what it's like to be pregnant. They don't
Right.
know what it's like to give birth. So
Yeah.
those differences are distinctive.
Mm. Mm.
The biological differences are distinctive.
Yeah.
So I like to say we are separate, but we are equal. And
Yes.
that is what needs to change.
We are different in
Different.
certain things, but
Yes,
equal power,
that's
which
right.
means that, the fact that, they do the work, you do the work,
Mhm.
maybe even more. And
Yes,
mm,
yes. And that's another area.
yes.
The
Mm,
recognition of it.
mm,
I am a sole proprietor. I have no employees. I'm the only tutor.
okay.
And although in some ways that's rather, I don't want to say lonely, but because I'm not having other tutors to bounce ideas off of.
Mm.
But there is a supportive community here for
That's
me.
what I was going to say. I mean, you can be inside a community, they do the same. Yeah.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So
Mm,
I love working independently. I love that my work speaks for itself.
mhm.
I don't advertise. I don't have a
Amazing.
website.
Mm.
I never needed it.
Yes.
It was always word of mouth and
And
always
you're so
referrals.
always full. Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
It's
So
well,
that's, again, it was a very natural, um, organic. I don't
it
really.
is organic. It
It's
is
organic.
organic growth, really. Yeah.
It is,
Yeah.
and it's not growth for the sake of getting bigger.
Mm.
It's growth for the sake of getting better.
Oh, and also sustain in your business, right? Because you wanna sustain it.
That right. So, but it takes a bit of ingenuity to grow it in a way that's healthy.
Ye of
It's
course.
it's like pruning trees.
Mm.
You
Yeah, you got to
can't
do it
just
right.
you
Yeah.
have to do it in a almost, it's an art and a science.
It
So
is. Mm.
you can't have it just unwieldy. And
Mm.
I'll just take all the clients and all the students I can get. No, you need to have treasure yourself enough
Mhm.
to really think about what kind of clients you want to serve. How are you best
Incredible.
positioned?
Yeah.
That's the way I always think. If someone comes to me and say, I'll just use a law student.
Mm.
And many times the subject could be substantive, like
Uh-huh.
contract law, or it could be procedural, like chain of custody, evidence chain of custody,
Okay.
so to speak. So regardless of what the content of the sessions are, I'm I'm always looking for that connection. So,
Okay.
and to establish that through one-on-one in very small groups is it's much easier because I'm able to focus on
Mm. Mm.
building that authentic relationship. Once I
Yeah.
have that in place, then we can get to the content proficiency.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah. So you
That's
have your own step and you cannot collapse them. You
you
need to
cannot.
go one by one.
That's right, and it always starts with the connection.
With
That's number one. Always. The connection is number one. We don't jump into the content. I want to know, how do you learn? Are you visual? Do
mm,
you like to play music when you're learning?
I like
Where you,
that.
so I'm looking for
Hints
anything
that
I can
shows
use.
you how to contribute. You are
Absolutely.
incredible. You are a treasure. You really are.
That's
It's incredible. You were talking, and I'm like listening because my son wants to be a lawyer, but he also wants to be an engineer. So I'm like, you know what, Donna? I am reaching out.
reach out. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And whoever is interested in love, whoever is listening to us, I am absolutely dropping your link. And you are such a jewel for all of this.
Thank you.
And you
Thank
remind me, I'm talking to you and I'm like, I feel I'm sitting at Harvard with the professors there. It just, you made me feel back to my time at there with the university professors. And
everybody. Everybody has the ability to learn.
yes,
Everyone, everyone. That's another just basic belief of mine,
it's true.
and
No,
and
but that's real. That's
it
real.
is, it
Yeah.
is. And
And
once, oh
mhm.
please,
No, I was going to add that a lot of people think, oh, I'm old, my memory, I don't have memory. And that's not even true. You exercise the memory.
That's right, that's right. And everyone has uh, the capacity
Mm.
to engage with material that they want to learn. That desire has to be there. I can't give you the desire. That's one thing I can't do.
Okay. Yeah.
But if you have the desire, that is enough. Then we can form the connection,
Mm.
which leads to the content proficiency, which results in high quality learning outcomes.
I love that. That's really
That's what
nice.
it's a natural byproduct. It's
And
nothing I'm doing.
it's
It's a
and when
natural
you think
byproduct.
about it, Donna, when you think about it, this applies to everything.
Yeah.
Even what we do. It's like I work with women on leadership, on empowerment. But that starts with the connection because the person needs to feel connected to me,
Yes.
and so that whatever I'll say will impact her, will trigger something so that she can grow on her own. Because as
Mm.
you said, I mean, like a desire, everyone has a strength, a force inside. And the role we play and the role I play is to be a guide, but by creating that connection. And that's what leadership is to be able to impact the emotions, these ideas, the actions of the other, and that starts with the connection. If there is
Very, very well said. Very
a
well said. Without that sincere engagement,
nothing
and
happens.
it varies. The level varies.
Yeah.
Some of my students benefit so much from deep engagement. They need it. And
Okay,
others, once they have just a little engagement, they're off to the races.
that's
And
it. uh,
so it really is, as with you, a tailored approach.
yeah,
And I think we need to see more of that.
I agree.
I
I
we it's not everything is scalable. Not everything is scalable in a linear way. Sometimes it's you have to make the investment. You
Mm.
you know, I wouldn't feel comfortable any other way. I
Okay.
wouldn't. It would be an exercise in artifice for me to uh, have
Yeah.
so many to have an army of tutors at my back. That it
You
just
don't know. You don't know. You stay open to that. Who knows? Maybe
that
you become such a reference that you don't know.
it
Keep
is
your conscious open.
that see that you're tutoring me.
I know.
But here's what I find, and maybe it's a common theme. Maybe you've seen this, but time and time again, I encounter uh, students that want to argue for their limitations. Um,
Oh,
and I
incredible.
and for instance, oh, I'm not a good learner. I'm just stupid. I
Yeah,
can't learn it.
I know, but that's very, very children. It's, it's that, it's more I'm doing the work that I do and I deepen it more. I can hear that in my children. So I'm able to change it because otherwise they'll grow with that. They're
That's
like,
right. Right.
"Oh,
If
God,
you can
okay,
catch it,
catch
and
it."
you can nip it in the bud. I have no tolerance for it.
No,
I
because you
I
can
will not be
you see
persuaded
it. Yeah.
to I will not be persuaded by your argument that you're limited
No. Because it's no, because you see it.
because I
But
can't
that's
do my job. I can't if
because you
I see who's
understand.
limited.
Yeah, and you understand that the mind plays sometimes some, and block us, but it's just our mind playing with us.
Exactly.
Mm,
That's all it is.
it
That's
is.
all it is. It's not a character flaw. It's just
It's not.
a thought you're having that I promise you does not work, and you should not give it any further attention.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This was such a delight, Donna. You are so
Mm.
delightful, and congratulations
Likewise,
for the
Hynd.
amazing work you're doing.
Thank
And
you.
I would love to reconnect again and talking more about whether you've changed your mind maybe sometime in the future to grow more. Who knows, right?
Well, there are always more stories to tell than there are told. So,
That's true.
perhaps we will have another conference
Absolutely.
further down the road, and we'll
Yes,
see what new and exciting things are happening.
exactly. So exciting. So I wish you all the best for this new 2023 and
You
many,
as
many
well.
more fun things.
You
Thank you
as
all.
well. A pleasure. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you very much.